Hello kids, I hope you are well today. So I have a question for you. If I told you that there was a spider in this hat, would you reach inside and pull him out? Now if I told you actually it wasn't just a spider, it was actually a tarantula, would you probably dash out of this room? Spiders, and tarantulas especially, are not very popular creatures, are they? They're hairy and creepy, and they have such a bad name. They're often used in scary scenes in movies, and we just are a bit nervous of them because we judge them by what they look like and what we think about them. Now, people say that they are actually one of the nicest creatures that you can come across, and they can even be great pets. Those who have them as pets will tell you that they are the most easygoing and the easiest pets that you will ever own. But I reckon that you would have a really, really hard time convincing your mom or dad or gogo or whoever's at home with you that you should own a pet tarantula. And it's like I said, we just have this impression by looking at them with their long legs and their like talons that they are dangerous, that they are creepy, that they are not for us to have as pets. They actually aren't even harmful to humans. And judging things by what they look like is actually what we often do with people more than animals. And a good example of this is a lady called Susan Boyle. Now, you may or may not have heard of her, but she is a middle-aged lady, so to you that is an old lady, who auditioned for a talent contest in England. And as she walked onto the stage, it was really embarrassing because everybody there, the crowd, the judges, you could tell that they immediately judged her for what she looked like. And they were embarrassed for her, and they rolled their eyes, and they really didn't want her to carry on with her audition. And then she sang, and it was the most amazing thing. I've got a little clip of the audition. Let's go and watch a little bit of that.
Hi, what's your name, darling?
My name is Susan Boyle.
Okay, Susan, and where are you from?
I am from Blackburn near Bathgate, West Lothian.
It's a big town.
It's a sort of collection of, villages. I had to think there.
And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47. And that's just one side of me.
Okay, what's the dream?
I'm trying to be a professional singer.
And why hasn't it worked out so far, Susan?
I've never been given the chance before, but here's hoping it'll change.
Okay, and who would you like to be as successful as?
Elaine Page.
Elaine
Like
Page.
that.
What are you going to sing tonight?
I'm going to sing I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables.
Okay.
Big song.
Yeah? Yes.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by. When folks smiled, I was
You just didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. When I was young and unafraid. When dreams are made and used and wasted, there was no ransom to be paid, no song unsung, no wine untasted.
Hey, come back here.
Today.
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. Piers.
Without a doubt, that was the biggest surprise I have had in 3 years on this show. When you stood there with that cheeky grin and said, I want to be like Elaine Page, everyone was laughing at you. No one is laughing now. That was stunning, an incredible performance. Amazing. I'm reeling from shock about you two, but
I am
can't
so
believe it.
thrilled because I know that everybody was against you. I honestly think that we were all being very cynical, and I think that's the biggest wake-up call ever. And I just want to say that it was a complete privilege listening to that. It was brilliant.
Susan, I knew the minute you walked out on that stage that we were going to hear something extraordinary, and I was right.
Not a lot of touch.
Susan, you are a little tiger, aren't you?
I don't know about that.
You are.
I don't know about that.
Okay, moment of truth. Piers, yes or no?
the biggest yes I have ever given anybody.
Amanda?
Yes, definitely. It's brilliant. Amanda, you too!
Susan Boyle, you can go back to the village with your head held high. It's 3 yeses.
Wow, isn't her voice amazing? She has sold 25 million albums, 250 million audio tracks, and over 650 million YouTube hits. She has made a lot of money. In fact, she's worth over $7 million. Quite incredible. And this was someone who the audience thought was worth nothing, not worth listening to, had no value to them, because she didn't look like a superstar to those people sitting there. So children, today I want to make sure that we learn 2 really important things. The first is that God tells us not to judge others, not to look and think, well, are they worthy of me making conversation with them? Are they worthy of me spending my time with them? Should I try and make an effort to be nice to those people? In fact, he doesn't just tell us not to judge people. He warns us that when we judge them because of what they look like or what they're wearing or what we think of their hairstyle, he is very, very angry with that. He is righteous and he is holy and he will judge people. But he asks us not to do that, because every single person in the world today is created in his image, and so they are worthy of our love and our respect and our time. The second thing that I want us to learn today is that God looks at the heart. That is what he looks at. He knows that our real selves, the real us, the real you and the real me, is in our heart. And actually it says in the Bible, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. If you have a good heart, if you have a kind heart, you will speak kindly. You will love. If you have a mean heart, if you've got a cruel streak, you will speak hurtful words and hard words to others. In the Bible, we see over and over again that God chooses people to do things based on what their heart is like. He could care less if you are short or tall, or you have long hair or short hair or no hair. He doesn't care what status you have or how much money you have. What he cares about is the status of your heart. What is your heart like? Is it soft? Is it kind? Is it caring? That's what God is looking at. And so what I wanted to do is just briefly look at 3 examples of people God chose to do very specific things in the Bible. The first one is Joseph, and I know you all know Joseph. He was the youngest of 12 brothers. And as the youngest, he really had no place of importance in the family. He was never going to inherit what the oldest son was going to inherit. He was never really going to become anything. But when God looked at the hearts of that family of brothers, he saw that they did not have hearts, each one of them, except Joseph, that he could use for the plan that he had. You see, he knew that when they had an opportunity, because they were jealous, because they were mean, they took their brother and they threw him into a pit. And they were going to leave him there to die. But then they saw some travelers, some slave traders coming along, and they thought, oh, actually, we can make some money out of him. That's even better. And they sold him into slavery. And God knew that if he chose one of those men to fulfill his plan, it would never work. Because as soon as they got to a position of power in Egypt, remember, Joseph was second only to Pharaoh. He had incredible power and incredible influence. If he chose one of the other brothers, then they would treat the people like they treated Joseph. They would use their power and their authority for their own gain. And so God chose Joseph because he knew that no matter what Joseph went through, no matter what the situation was, whether he was treated well, whether he was treated badly and betrayed, he was faithful to God and he was obedient to God. And that was someone God could use. And so in his plan to show the world what it was to know God, he chose Joseph to be his man. The second guy that we're going to look at is Abraham. Now, you know Abraham, children, but actually we don't know a lot about Abraham. We don't know if he was tall or short, or if he had brown hair or black hair, if he was drop dead gorgeous or just plain ordinary looking. We don't know any of those details. But what is recorded in the Bible is that Abraham was a righteous man. And he had a heart to serve and obey God, to the point where he was willing to sacrifice his own son, because that's what God was asking him. And he did it because he was willing to trust God. He knew that God loved him, and he was obedient to do what God was asking him. And we know God never went through with that. Abraham didn't have to sacrifice his son, but God chose him to be the father of Israel, the father of the nation he chose to show the world what it was to serve a loving creator God. And he chose a man who had a righteous heart. And then the last example I want us to look at is Jesus and who he chose to be his disciples. Now, these were the men who had the most important mission ever given. They were to explain to the world why Jesus came, why he stepped down from heaven, the sacrifice he made, what he gave up, that he was crucified, that they buried him, he was dead. And then they watched as he walked and talked and ate with them. He came back to life. They had the most important message to tell the world. So did he choose the president of the country? Did he choose the king? Did he choose the beauty queen or the Mr. Universe or the best athlete? No, you know he didn't. Jesus chose simple fishermen, young men who were not wealthy. They were not particularly well educated. They didn't have a great status or position in society. In fact, quite a few of them were teenagers, so they didn't even have the resources to become wealthy. He chose them because they were willing to serve him. They gave up everything that they had, and they followed him. And they said, "Teach us, Lord. Show us. Teach us to pray. Show us your Father. Use us." They had hearts that were willing to be used by God. And so, children, I really want you to remember today that you can put on fancy clothes and you can scrub yourself up and look great. But eventually, people will see not just the outside. They will see the inside. They will see if you have a jealous heart, if you have a mean heart, if you have a hateful heart, that will come out, because out of the wellspring of our heart, our mouth speaks. And God wants us to have hearts that He can use. He wants us to walk with Him every day, so that when those tough things come, when someone says something mean and hurtful, when we mess up, because we do, our heart doesn't get hardened and unusable. We come back to Him, and He helps us to forgive, and He helps us to love, and He helps us to keep our hearts soft, so that He, in His plan for the world to know Him and share eternity with Him, He can use us to do that, just like He used Joseph and Abraham and each of His disciples. So it's a really great lesson, guys. You can make a little tarantula spider. He probably looks far too cute to be scary, but it's just a really good reminder. You can be a tarantula, you can be a kitten, you can be a hermit crab or an ant or a cuddly puppy. God does not care what you look like on the outside. What He cares about is your heart. What does your heart look like? Make this craft, if that's going to help you remind you, you can put it in your Bible, that your heart is important above all else. All right, guys, have a great Sunday. Lots of love to you all.